Anu V6 or 116, Sol 24 degrees Leo, Luna 22 degrees Cancer, Dies Solis, hour of the moon. August 16, 2020, Era Vogotis, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, GMT minus 5. Do what thy wilt should be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Mystery of Mystery, a primer of Thelemic Ecclesiastical Gnosticism. By Sabazius, 10th degree, USGL of OTO, and Thou Helena. Part 2, Chapter 1, Introduction to the Gnostic Mass. Chapter 1, Introduction to the Gnostic Mass. Aleister Crowley, Edward Alexander Crowley, wrote Liber 15, the Gnostic Mass, in 1913 in Moscow, the year after his appointment by Theodore Roos as the 10th degree head of the British section of OTO. According to W.B. Crow, he wrote it under the influence of the liturgy of St. Basil of the Russian Church. Crowley published the Gnostic Mass 3 times during his life. In 1918, in the International, in 1919, in the Equinox, Volume 3, Number 1, the Blue Equinox, and in 1929 and 30, in Appendix 6 of Magic in Theory and Practice, MTP. Theodore Roos published a German variant in 1918. Jane Wolfe is reported to have participated in celebrations of the Gnostic Mass with Crowley and Cephalou, but the first recorded public celebration of the Gnostic Mass was on Sunday, March 19, 1933 of the Common Era, by Wilfred T. Smith and Regina Cahill in Hollywood, California. Crowley writes in chapter 73 of his Confessions, during this period, note 1, the summer of 1913 Common Era, the full interpretation of the central mystery of Freemasonry became clear in consciousness, and I expressed it in dramatic form in the ship. The lyrical climax is in some respects my supreme achievement in invocation. In fact, the chorus beginning, "Thou who art I beyond all I am," seemed to me worthy to be introduced as the anthem into the ritual of the Gnostic Catholic Church, which, later in the year, I prepared for the use of the OTO, the central ceremony of its public and private celebration, corresponding to the Mass of the Roman Catholic Church. While dealing with the subject, I may as well outline its scope completely. Human nature demands, in the case of most people, the satisfaction of the religious instinct, and to very many, this may best be done by ceremonial means. I wished, therefore, to construct a ritual through which people might enter into ecstasy as they have always done under the influence of appropriate ritual. In recent years, there has been an increasing failure to attain this object because the established cults shock their intellectual convictions and outrage their common sense. Thus, their minds criticize their enthusiasm. They are unable to consummate the union of their individual souls with the universal soul of a bridegroom. They are unable to consummate the union of their individual souls with the universal soul as a bridegroom would be to consummate his marriage if his love were constantly reminded that its assumptions were intellectually absurd. I resolved that my ritual should celebrate the sublimity of operation of universal forces without introducing disputable metaphysical theories. I would neither make nor imply any statement about nature which would not be endorsed by the most materialistic man of science. On the surface, this may sound difficult, but in practice, I found it perfectly simple to combine the most rigidly rational conceptions of phenomena with the most exalted and enthusiastic celebration of their sublimity. The word Mass, according to the Roman Catholic Church, comes from the Latin word missa, dismissal, from the phrase used at the completion of some old liturgies, ite missa est, go. This is the dismissal. Despite the origin of its name, the Eucharistic ceremony of the Mass did not originate with Christianity, nor is it the exclusive property of any single religion. Crowley recognized in the liturgies of the Roman and Russian rites the intricate and beautiful patterns of a profound symbolic tradition. Glimmering beneath the layered crust of scholastic religious dogma, the Eucharistic ritual, which comprises the core of the Mass, is far older than Christianity. In fact, some Protestant theologians have pointed to the Mass and its symbolic components as evidence of the corruption of the Catholic Church by the incorporation of idolatrous pagan practices and doctrines. A few of the many examples of this include the round host and paten conjoined with the silver crescent of the chalice as obvious symbols of sun and moon, the altar cross as cult object, omphalos, linga, or sacred tree, the baptismal font as sacred spring, the litany of saints and invocation of the spirits of the ancestors, and the Eucharist itself as a vestige of human sacrifice. Some prehistoric totemic cults, by the evidence of certain modern totemic some prehistoric totemic cults, by the evidence of certain modern totemic cults, may have created a sense of social bonding through ritual feasts, especially feasts which involve the consummation of the totem animal or plant. The magic which entwined the destinies of the members of the totem society with that of the totem animal or plant also entwined the destinies of the members of the totem society with each other. The sense of shared destiny or shared spirits or magic became so strong in some totemic cultures that it began to take on its own unique identity with its own attributes and even its own personality. Sometimes it would become closely identified with the personality of a particular virtuous and powerful hero or shaman, an identification which would remain after the hero's death. The hero, identified with the cult spirit, could not have been said to have truly died so long as the cult itself survived. He had become a divine man, a hybrid between mankind and the forces of nature, fully human yet also fully divine, who was dead and yet alive, who therefore possessed power over death and life. The early worship of Dionysus, which may have developed in a similar way from the rites of a totemic society, including the drinking of wine and the consumption of the raw flesh of a sacred animal in a ritual called the homophagia. The animal was either a bull, a fawn, or a goat, all sacred to Dionysus in different locales, and it was ritually torn apart in commemoration of the dismemberment of Dionysus Zagreus, the infant son of Zeus, at the hands of the Titans. The flesh consumed in the wild orgia of the Bacchantes or Bacchantes was not, however, the mere flesh of a butchered animal. First, it was an animal of a type which was sacred to the god, in essence, a totem animal, and thus partaking of the god's vital nature. Second, the animal had ceremonially passed through the god's own greatest and most characterizing ordeal. By passing through the ritual of sympathetic magic, the animal was considered to have assumed the actual identity of the god. Its flesh, therefore, was believed to have become the very flesh of Dionysus himself. The vine was also sacred to Dionysus, and partook of his nature in a similar totemic way. When the Bacchantes consumed the flesh of the animal, when the Bacchantes consumed the flesh and the wine, they consumed the actual body and blood of their god. By integrating the body of their god into the fabric of their individual bodies, they effected the integration of the Spirit of God into the fabric of their own individual spirits. This not only gave them access to the power and magic of the god, it also gave them a strong sense of identity with their fellow Bacchantes, who were infused with the same divine spirit. Note 3. The same magic was wrought by the ancient Persians through the ritual consumption of the sacred hurma drink, and by the Vedic Aryans with their soma. Over time, Greek culture became more refined and complex through intercourse with other cultures, such as those of Egypt, Asia Minor, and Phoenicia. The primitive worship of Dionysus survived because it was itself amenable to evolution and development. The Orpheans, who flourished in the 6th century before the Common Era, adopted the Dionysian religion as their own. They tempered the savagery in its rites and used these refined rites to convey, by allegory, the philosophical teachings of their redemptive religion. Being ascetics and vegetarians, they substituted for the bloody homophagia a bloodless sacramental communion of cakes made of meal and honey in remembrance of the slain Son of God. The Orphic teachings, preserved in the Orphic hymns and developed in the Greek mysteries and the teachings of the most famous of the Orphic initiates, Pythagoras, exerted a great deal of influence on the development of later Hellenic religion and philosophy, particularly Neoplatonism and Gnosticism. By these routes, they entered that highly successful syncretistic religion known as Christianity. The word Gnostic is a Greek word which means pertaining to knowledge. It is often used in reference to a group of early Christian religious systems which developed in the cultural, religious, and philosophical melting pot of the Eastern Roman Empire during the first century of the Common Era, and were centered primarily in Alexandria, Egypt. Known collectively as Gnosticism, these systems, considered heresies by the developing Christian theocracy, attempted to fuse Judaic Christianity with Greek philosophy, Egyptian theurgy, and other elements. Such systems included the teachings of Simon Magus, Basilides, Valentinus, Bardesanes, and Marcion, as well as those of the groups known as Scythians and Nacenes. The term Gnostic may also be used to refer to other religious systems which, though non-Christian, shared many of the views of the Christian Gnostics. The Orphean religion was among them. So were the Hermetic teachings of the Egyptian Pomandres sect and the Manichaean religion, and so is the religion of the Mandaeans of southern Iraq. In comparing the diverse patterns of the Gnostic tapestry, we note a few common threads. Symbolic and practical syncretism, a cosmogony in which matter is separated from spirit by a series of emanations or aeons, with the cosmos originating in a mixture of spirit into matter. Varying degrees of anti-cosmic sentiment, the evaluation of the created world, or devaluation of the created world and of material existence, expressed in either asceticism or libertinism. The doctrine that the human spirit is essentially divine, a system of redemption through mysticism and personal enlightenment, which is represented into the soteriology of the redeemed Redeemer, and eschatology, emphasizing the ultimate separation of the justified souls from matter and their return to pure spirit. Many, but not all, of the Gnostic systems placed the true God above the God worshipped by the great mass of humanity. This inferior God was often portrayed by an arrogant and tyrannical power, ignorant of its own origin and limitations. A number of Gnostic systems were characterized by an emphasis on the divine female counterpart to the Christos figure, who was variously known as Sophia, Helena, Enoia, and Marbello. The elitism of most Gnostic systems are led to their ultimate extinction in favor of the more populous and militant Orthodox systems of Christianity, Islam, and Zoroastrianism, and many of the original writings of the Gnostics were systematically destroyed. Some, however, have survived, notably the Corpus Hermeticum, the Askew Codex, the Bruce Codex, the Achmim Codex, and the Nag Hammadi Library, as well as the extant writings of the Manichaeans and Mandaeans. Much more information concerning the doctrines and beliefs of various forms of early Gnosticism have been transmitted by the writings of the early Christian anti-heretical writers such as Justin Martyr, circa 100 to 165 of the Common Era, Irenaeus of Lyons, or Lyons, circa 100 to 203 of the Common Era, Clement of Alexandria, 155 to 210, Tertullian of Carthage, 155 to 230, Hippolytus of Rome, 170 to 235, and Epiphanius of Salamis, 315 to 408, the last being a less reliable source than the others. In addition to its transmission through literature, the Gnostic current appears to have wound its way through the Middle Ages in several distinct streams of tradition. The Hermetic Gnosis was incorporated into the allegorical science of alchemy. Egyptian Gnosticism influenced Hebrew Hekkalot and Merkaba mysticism, which later developed into Kabbalism. The Marcionite and possibly Manichaean Gnosis was preserved by the Paulicians of Armenia and possibly influenced the Bogomils of Bulgaria, who in turn helped to found the Cathars, or Albigensian sects, of southern France in the 12th century. Catharism further influenced the development of medieval Jewish Kabbalism as well as the chivalric legend of the Holy Grail, and united the esoteric Islamic ideas with their own Gnostic and or Neoplatonic influences in the unorthodox Christianity of the Knights Templar. Kabbalism, Hermeticism, and Templarism united in Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry, which formed the foundation for the OTO, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and the AA. The Valentinian Gnosis passed quietly into the structure and sacramental rituals of the Roman Catholic Church. Discoveries of some of the Gnostic codices, the Eluncus of Hippolytus, and certain Cathar documents inspired the French Gnostic revival of the late 19th century of the Common Era. The French Gnostic revival blended elements of Templarism, Rosicrucianism, Church Christianity, and historical Gnosticism in an attempt to reconstruct an independent Gnostic church. One of the results of this was the foundation of our own Gnostic Catholic Church. The union of the Gnostic Catholic Church and OTO represented, therefore, a confluence of numerous Gnostic streams into a single body, a body which was to achieve ultimate fruition upon the introduction of the last and most dynamic Gnostic current, the law of Thelema, which was introduced into the OTO and Gnostic Catholic Church by the Master Therion. In composing Liber 15, Crowley attempted to uncover the hidden Gnostic tradition concealed within the ceremony of the Mass, to liberate it from bondage to the scholastic theories and dogmas of Christian theology, and to demonstrate the fundamental continuity between this ancient tradition of wisdom and the modern revelations and liberating philosophy of Thelema. References: Angus S., The Mystery Religions, A Study in the Religious Background of Early Christianity, 1925, 1928, Dover Publications, New York, 1975. Camel, Charles Richard, Aleister Crowley, The Man, the Mage, the Poet, University Books, Incorporated, New Hyde Park, New York, 1962. Giuliano, Ion, P. The Tree of Gnosis, Gnostic Mythology from Early Christianity to Modern Nihilism, Harper, San Francisco, 1990. Crow, W.B., A History of Magic, Witchcraft and Occultism, Aquarian Press, London, 1968. Crowley, Alistair, The Confessions of Alistair Crowley, an autobiography, edited by John Simons and Kenneth Grant, Rutledge and Kegan Paul, London, 1979. Crowley, Alistair, Magic and Theory and Practice, 1929-30. In Magic, Book 4, Parts 1 through 4, edited, annotated, and introduced by Hymenaeus Beta, Samuel Weiser, York Beach, Maine, 1994. Drower, E.S., Walter N. Twine, A Study of Ritual Idiom in the Middle East, John Murray, London, 1956. Eliade Mircea, Editor-in-Chief, The Encyclopedia of Religions, Macmillan Publishing Co., New York, 1987. Eliade Mircea, Rites and Symbols of Initiation, The Mysteries of Birth and Rebirth, Harper and Row, New York, 1958. Forlong, J.G.R., Faiths of Man, A Cyclopedia of Religions, Bernard Quaritch, 1906, University Books, New York, 1964. Forlong, J.G.R., Rivers of Life, London, 1883. Fraser, James G., The Golden Bough, The Roots of Religion and Folklore, 1890. Avenel Books, New York, 1981. Gaster, Theodore H., The New Golden Bough, a new abridgment of the classic work by Sir James George Fraser, Mentor Books, New York, 1959. Graham Lloyd M., Deceptions and Myths of the Bible, Citadel Press, New York, 1975. Rand F., Greek Mythology, in the New Larousse Encyclopedia of Mythology, Hamlin, New York, 1959-1968. Harrison, Jane Ellen, Themis, A Study of the Social Origins of Greek Religion, 1912-1927, University Books, New York, 1962. Hislop, Reverend Alexander, The Two Babylons, or The Papal Worship, Luzu Brothers, New Jersey, 1916-1959. Hymenaeus Beta, editor, The Equinox, Volume 3, Number 10, Thelema Publications, New York, 1986. Inman Thomas, Ancient Pagan and Modern Christian Symbolism, 1869-1874. Kissinger Publications, Keela, Montana, 1993. James E.O., Sacrifice and Sacrament, Thames and Hudson, London, 1962. Legge, Francis, Forerunners and Revivals of Christianity from 330 BC to 330 AD, 1915, University Books, New York, 1964. Mead, G.R.S., Fragments of a Faith Forgotten, 1900, University Books, New York. Mead, G.R.S., The Orphic Pantheon, The Alexandrian Press, Edmonds, Washington, 1984. Pouvel, Jean, Comparative Mythology, Johns Hopkins University Press, Baltimore, 1987. Rudolf Kurt, Gnosis, Harper and Row, San Francisco, 1977. Sholem Gershom, Origins of the Kabbalah, 1962. Jewish Publication Society, Princeton University Press, New Jersey, 1987. Secular Phyllis, Jane Wolfe, The Sword, Hollywood, in the Continuum, Volume 3, Number 4, College of Thelema, Oroville, California, 1983. Anu V6, Sol 24 degrees Leo, Luna 23 degrees Cancer, Hour of Saturn, Dies Solis, or Sunday, August 16, 2020, Era Vulgaris, 12:03 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do what thy wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Mystery of Mysteries, a primer of Thelemic Ecclesiastical Gnosticism by Sabazius 10 degree USGL of OTO and Thal Helena. Part 2, Chapter 2. The Gnostic Mass. This version of the Gnostic Mass is based on the text as presented in Appendix 6 of Magic, Book 4, Parts 1 through 4, by Aleister Crowley, edited, annotated, and introduced by Hymenaeus Beta, second revised edition, Samuel Vizier, York Beach, Maine, 1997. Additional stage directions, suggestions, and comments by Helena and Thal Apirion, when inserted in the text of the Gnostic Mass, are shown in square brackets. Introductory notes. This document contains our personal interpretations of Liber XV, or 15. From clarifications of its often incomplete and sometimes contradictory stage directions to cross-referencing to symbolic exegesis. While Liber 15 is hardly a Class A publication, explaining and interpreting any of Crowley's writings is always risky business, even for the best of Crowley scholars and the most experienced of magicians. Crowley, like all Kabbalists, realized the value of the use of multiple layers of meaning to create a vector to point toward a truth that would be impossible or foolish to express in plain words. Such layers of meaning are especially abundant in Liber 15, and the interpretive material contained herein is far more exhaustive. We have intentionally, and no doubt unintentionally as well, left many layers of meaning untouched. Rather than attempting to explain away or trivialize the mysteries of Thelemic Gnosticism in common language, we have sought to provide material which is suggestive of the unfathomed depths of these mysteries, and which invites the reader to dive in and explore them. In his Confessions, Crowley stated that he wished to construct Liber 15 such that it would combine the most rigidly rational conceptions of phenomena with the most exalted and enthusiastic celebration of their sublimity, and that it would neither make nor imply any statement about nature which would not be endorsed by the most materialistic man of science. While Crowley's success in this undertaking is far from certain, his spirited attempt has, in our opinion, greatly strengthened the appeal of Liber 15. However, the materialistic man of science is by no means necessarily a dogmatist of materialism. The true man of science is a man of open mind and wide learning. He will understand that the creations of the cognitive process of mythology and theology have as great an effect on the human mind as the creations of the human sensory organs. Thus, in our exegesis, we have introduced ideas which may appear to some purists as wandering dangerously close to the realm of disputable metaphysical theories. We hope that such purists will be gracious enough to permit our readers to evaluate our comments in the light of their own lamps. In preparing our interpretive and expository materials, we have endeavored to rely on Crowley's own writings whenever possible, but we have ventured to occasionally express our own opinions. Therefore, we must disclaim our efforts herein to interpret or explain the symbolic aspects of Liber 15 as representing strictly that, our own considered opinions, and not those of OTO, EGC, or anyone else. Each must always cut his own or her own way. Each must always cut his or her own way through the jungle, even those who follow the footprints of others. For in the jungle, the underbush grows very quickly indeed. According to Sister Morel, Sister Phyllis Seckler, Sister Jane Wolfe participated in performances of the Gnostic Mass under Crowley's direction during her stay at Cefalu, although Crowley told W.T. Smith that only bits of the Gnostic Mass had been performed there. When she returned to California, she drew upon her experiences at Cefalu to assist W.T. Smith and Regina Cajal in the development of the Agape Lodge performance standards for the Gnostic Mass. The tradition of Agape Lodge Gnostic Mass performance would thus potentially represent an indirect and partial transmission of Crowley's own Gnostic Mass performance standards, and have thus been given some weight in developing the recommendations presented herein. The descriptions of Agape Lodge performance traditions given below are as recalled by Sorors, Marrow, and Grimaud. They were both members of Agape Lodge. Liber 15, Ecclesiastical Gnosticism, Canon Mise. Note 1. Translation: The Canon of the Mass of Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica, the Gnostic Catholic Church. Part 1. Of the furnishings of the temple. In the east, that is, in the direction of Boleskine, which is situated on the southeastern shore of Loch Ness in Scotland, 2 miles east of Foyers, is a shrine or high altar. Its dimensions should be 7 feet in length, 3 feet in breadth, 44 inches in height. It should be covered with a crimson altar cloth, on which may be embroidered fleur-de-lis in gold, or a sun blaze, or other suitable emblem. On the altar are placed the priest's robe and crown. Note 4. These bracketed stage directions are added for clarity. They reflect our experience and opinions and do not represent definitive standards. The bracketed section was, on the altar are placed the priest's robe and crown. On each side of it should be a pillar or obelisk with counter charges in black and white. Below it should be the dais of 3 steps in black and white squares. Above it is the super altar, at whose top is the stele of revealing, in reproduction, with 4 candles on each side of it. Below the stele is a place for the book of the law, with 6 candles on each side of it. Below this again is the Holy Grail. Note 5. See for reference the Ace of Cups and corresponding passages of the Book of Thoth. Also see Book 4, Part 2, Chapter 7. Magic and Theory and Practice, Chapter 7, and Liber CDX V111. 418. 12th Aether. Below this again is the Holy Grail, with roses on each side of it. There is room in front of the cup for the paten. Note 6. The paten simultaneously symbolizes the sun and the earth. See for reference the Ace of Discs and corresponding passages of the Book of Thoth. Inman says, the round host of paten in combination with the crescent of the bowl of the cup symbolize the sun and moon. On each side, beyond the roses, are 2 great candles. Note 7. There is only 1 great candle on each side of the altar. All this is enclosed within a veil, forming the apex of an equilateral triangle, whose base is a line drawn between the pillars, is a small black square. Forming the apex of an equilateral triangle, whose base is a line drawn between the pillars, is a small black square altar of superimposed cubes. Taking this altar as the middle of the base of a similar and equal triangle, at the apex of this second triangle is a small circular font. Repeating the apex of a third triangle is an upright coffin or tomb. Part 2 of the officers of the Mass. The priest bears the sacred lance and is clothed. The priest bears the sacred lance and is clothed at first in a plain white robe. The priestess should be actually Virgo Intacta, or specifically dedicated to the service of the Great Order. She is clothed in white, blue, and gold. She bears the sword from a red girdle, and the paten and host are cakes of light. Note 9. See Liber Al 3:23-25, and Magic and Theory and Practice, Chapter 20. The deacon, he is clothed in white and yellow. He bears the book of the law. 2 children. They are clothed in white and black. One bears a pitcher of water and a cellar of salt, the other a censer of fire and a casket of perfume. 3. Of the ceremony of the introit. The deacon, opening the door of the temple, admits the congregation. Note 10. The congregation represents the grade of man of earth. The deacon, opening the door of the temple, admits the congregation and takes his stand between the small altar and the font. There should be a doorkeeper to attend to the admission. The deacon advances and bows before the open shrine, where the Graal is exalted. He kisses the book of the law 3 times, opens it, and places it upon the super altar. He turns west. The proclamation of the law. Note 11. These subsection titles have been added for convenience of reference. They are descriptive and refer, when applicable, to historical precedents. Otherwise, they are arbitrary. The deacon. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Liber Al 140. I proclaim the law of light, life, love, and liberty. Note 12. See Liber CL or 150 de Lege Libellum. I proclaim the law of light, life, love, and liberty in the name of the congregation. Love is the law. Love under will. Liber Al 157. The deacon goes to his place between the altar of incense and the font, in brackets, directs the congregation to rise, close brackets, faces east, and gives the step and sign of a man and a brother. All imitate him. The creed, credo, note 15. For a detailed discussion of the creed, see the chapter on this subject beginning on page 66. The deacon and all the people. I believe in one secret and ineffable Lord, and in one star in the company of stars, of whose fire we are created, and to which we shall return, and in one Father of life, mystery of mystery, in his name, Chaos, the sole vice-regent of the sun upon the earth, and in one air, the nourisher of all that breathes. And I believe in one earth, the mother of us all, and in one womb, wherein all men are begotten, and wherein they shall rest. Mystery of mystery, in her name, Babylon. And I believe in the serpent and the lion. Mystery of mystery, in his name, Baphomet. And I believe in one Gnostic and Catholic Church of light, life, love, and liberty, the word of whose law is Thelema. And I believe in the communion of saints. And for as much as meat and drink are transmuted in us daily into spiritual substance, I believe in the miracle of the Mass. And I confess one baptism of wisdom, whereby we accomplish the miracle of incarnation. And I confess my life, one, individual, and eternal, that was, and is to come. in brackets, the entry of the priestess and children, brackets closed. Music is now played. The child enters with the ewer and the salt. The virgin enters with the sword and the paten. The child enters with the censer and the perfume. They face the deacon, deploying into line from the space between the two altars. The virgin, greeting of earth and heaven. Note 16. The priestess exhibits dual feminine aspects corresponding to Babylon, earth, and Nuit, heaven. The empress, earth, and the high priestess, heaven. Note that the phrase is not greetings of earth and heaven. All give the hailing sign of a magician. The deacon leading, the priestess, the negative child on her left, the positive child on her right, ascend the steps of the high altar. They await her below. Note 18. The children never ascend the steps to the high altar at any point during the ritual. Only the priest, priestess, and deacon ever ascend the steps. She places the paten before the grog. Note 19. She offers, in essence, dedicates and sacrifices this part of herself before the grog. In doing so, she also completes the complement of elemental symbols on the high altar. Having adored it, she descends, and with the children following her, the positive next her, she moves in a serpentine manner. 20. Note 20. In some locations, this is interpreted as calling for the priestess to dance sinuously in her progression around the temple, sometimes with appropriate musical accompaniment. It is sometimes even referred to as the serpentine dance. However, there is no indication in the text itself that either dance or music are specifically called for. The path taken around the small altar and the font can be described as serpentine, and this description is sufficient to justify the use of the term. She moves in a serpentine manner, involving 3.5 circles of the temple. Note 21. The Kundalini, prior to rising up the spine, is said to be coiled 3.5 times around the Svayambhu Linga, located in the Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine. Since the priestess begins in the east, we may interpret a circle as one full return to the east side of the small altar. Then we can count the number of circles as follows. 2 sil about the altar, 1 circle, Wittershins about the font, 0 circles, 2 sil about the altar and font, 1 circle, Wittershins about the altar, 1 circle, and so to the tomb in the west, 1/2 circle. Total, 3.5 circles. The motion suggests the conjunction of sun, altar, and moon, font. See for reference the 2 of disc of the tarot. During these travels by the priestess and the children, the deacon remains at the station at the small altar. Diocel about the altar, Wittershins about the font, Diocel about the altar and font, Wittershins about the altar, and so to the tomb in the west. She draws her sword and pulls down the veil therewith. Without notes. the Virgin. Greeting of earth and heaven. All give the hailing sign of a magician, the deacon leading. The priestess, the negative child on her left, the positive child on her right, ascend the steps of the high altar. They await her below. She places the paten before the Graal. Having adored it, she descends, and with the children following her, the positive next her, she moves in a serpentine manner, involving 3.5 circles of the temple. Diocil about the altar, with her shins about the font. Diocil about the altar and font, with her shins about the altar, and so to the tomb in the west. She draws her sword and pulls down the veil therewith. The entry of the priest, the priestess. By the power of iron, note 22, the iron cross symbol indicates that a sign of the cross is made. In this case, according to Agape Lodge tradition, the priestess makes the sign of the cross with her sword, held point up. By the power of iron cross, iron, I say unto thee, arise. In the name of the iron cross, Son, and the name of our Lord, iron cross, name of that national king, Sabazius, that thou mayest administer the virtues to the brethren. She sheathes the sword. The priest, issuing from the tomb, holding the lance erect with both hands right over left, against his breast, takes the first 3 regular steps. He then gives the lance to the priestess and gives the 3 penal signs. He then kneels and worships the lance with both hands. Penitential music. Brackets, the confession of the priest. Close bracket. The priest. I am a man among men. He takes again the lance and lowers it. He rises. The priest. How should I be worthy to administer the virtues to the brethren? In brackets, the lustration of the priest. Close brackets. The priestess takes from the child the water and the salt and mixes them in the font. The priestess. Let the salt of earth admonish the water. Note 25. Earth and water are the passive elements. To bear the virtue of the great sea. Genuflex. Mother, be thou adored. Again, without notes. The priestess. Let the salt of earth admonish the water, to bear the virtue of the great sea. Genuflex. Mother, be thou adored. She returns to the rest. She returns to the west. Iron cross. On priest with open hand. Note 26. According to the Agape Lodge tradition, the priestess makes these crosses in the air a few inches away from the priest's body. Thus, she returns to the west, iron cross, on priest with open hand, doth she make over his forehead, breast, and body. Be the priest peer of body and blood. Brackets. The consecration of the priest. Close bracket. The priestess takes the censer from the child and places it on the small altar. She puts incense therein. Let the fire and the air. Note 27. Fire and air are the active elements. Make sweet the world. Genuflex. Father, be thou adored. Let the fire and the air make sweet the world. Genuflex. Father, be thou adored. She returns west and makes the iron cross with the censer before the priest, thrice as before. Be the priest fervent of body and soul. The children resume their weapons as they are done with. Brackets, the vesture of the priests. Close bracket. The deacon now takes the consecrated robe from high altar and brings it to her. She robes the priest in his robe of scarlet and gold. Be the flame of the sun thine ambience. Note 28. From the Latin ambire, to go around. The halo which designates holy personages in early and medieval Christian art was probably carried over from the pagan tradition where it was used to denote solar figures. O thou priest of the sun, be the flame of the sun thine ambience, O thou priest of the sun. Bracket, the coronation of the priest. Close bracket. The deacon brings the crown. Note 29. See Book 4, Part 2, Chapter 11. The crown of the magician represents the attainment of his work. It is a band of pure gold, on the front of which stand 3 pentagrams, and on the back a hexagram. The central pentagram contains a diamond or a great opal. The other 3 symbols contain the Tao. Around this crown is twinned the golden uraeus serpent with erect head and expanded hood. Illustrations of Crowley wearing a crown of this description and an appropriate cap of maintenance are given in Book 4, frontispiece, and in The Vision and the Voice, The Equinox, Volume 4, Number 2, Figure 36. The deacon brings the crown from the high altar. The crown may be of gold or platinum, or of electrum magicum, but with no other materials save the small proportions necessary to a proper alloy. It may be adorned with divers jewels at will, but it must have the uraeus serpent twined about it, and the cap of maintenance. Note 30. The cap of maintenance is described in Book 4, Part 2, Chapter 11. Under the crown is a crimson cap of maintenance, which falls to the shoulders. The crimson cap implies concealment and is also symbolical of the flood of glory that pours upon the magician from above. It is of velvet for the softness of that divine kiss, and crimson for that it is the very blood of God, which is its life. Since the texture of the cap of maintenance should be velvet, and the cap of maintenance must match the scarlet of the robe, it follows that the texture of the robe should also be velvet. See the previous entry for references to illustrations of Crowley wearing a crown with an appropriate cap of maintenance. Note that Crowley's design for the cap of maintenance differs substantially from the traditional design of the cap of maintenance used by British royalty and in heraldry. Without notes, the deacon brings the crown from the high altar. The crown may be of gold or platinum, or of electrum magicum, but with no other metals save the small proportions necessary to a proper alloy. It may be adorned with divers jewels at will, but it must have the uraeus serpent twinned about it, and the cap of maintenance must match the scarlet of the robe. Its texture should be velvet. She places the cap of maintenance and crown upon the head of the priest. This in brackets. Bracketed, she places the cap of maintenance and crown upon the head of the priest. Close bracket. Be the serpent thy crown, O thou priest of the Lord. Bracket. The consecration of the lance and the invocation of the Lord. Close bracket. Kneeling, she takes the lance between her open hands and runs them up and down upon the shaft 11 times very gently. Note 31. 11 is a number of generally evil aspect in the traditional Kabbalah and is considered the number of the Qliphoth, shells. In the Thelemic Kabbalah, the number 11 takes on a number of important positive meanings. It represents the union of the 5 and the 6, the pentagram and the hexagram, the microcosm and macrocosm. In some systems, the hexagram is a masculine symbol and the pentagram a feminine one. 11 is also the number of Nuit in Liber Al. The number of words in Do What Thou Wilt shall be the whole of the law, and the number of letters in the word of the Aeon, Abra Had Abra. See Liber 58. The article called Gematria in 777 and other Kabbalistic works, and Magic in Theory and Practice. Chapter 7. According to Agape Lodge tradition, the priest holds the lance vertically upright before him and with both hands. The butt end of the lance on the floor. During the entire time, the priestess runs her hands up and down its shaft. Be the Lord present among us. All give the hailing sign. Bracket. All should be standing at this point. Close bracket. The people, so mote it be. Part 4 of the ceremony of the opening of the veil. Brackets. The raising of the priestess, close bracket, the priest. Thee, therefore, whom we adore, we also invoke. By the power of the lifted lance, he raises the lance. All repeat hailing sign, a phrase of triumphant music. The priest takes the priestess by her right hand, with his left keeping the lance raised. I, priest and king, take thee, virgin, pure without spot. I upraise thee. I lead thee to the east. I set thee upon the summit of the earth. He thrones the priestess upon the altar. Note 32. And this is that which is written, Malkuth shall be uplifted and set upon the throne of Bene. Liber 418, the vision and the voice, 4th Aether. The deacon and the children follow, they in rank behind him. The priestess takes the book of the law, resumes her seat, and holds it open on her breast with her two hands, making a descending triangle. Note 33. The priestess bears the word within her heart, beneath a descending triangle. In the Tantras, the trikona is the sign of Shakti. A red triangle with one point down is also the special sign of Horus. The book should be held with the pages turned. The book should be held with the pages facing outward. Compare this gesture to the Dugard. See also symbolism on page 84. With thumbs and forefingers, the people may sit. The priestess takes the book of the law, resumes her seat, and holds it open on her breast with her two hands, making a descending triangle with thumbs and forefingers. The people may sit. The priest gives the lance to the deacon to hold, and takes the ewer from the child and sprinkles the priestess, making 5 crosses, forehead, shoulders, and thighs. The thumb of the priest is always between his index and medius, whenever he is not holding the lance. The priest takes the censer from the child and makes 5 crosses as before. The children replace their weapons on their respective altars. Note 35. It is less disruptive to the flow of the ritual if the children wait to replace their weapons until the priest has kissed the book of the law and has knelt in adoration. The priest kisses the book of the law 3 times. Brackets, he kneels for a space in adoration with joined hands, knuckles closed, thumbs in position aforesaid. Notes 36, 37, and 38. 36, see symbolism, page 85. 37, the book of the law has 3 chapters. 38, this is the typical attitude of adoration for the priest. And in the position the priest should take when the ritual says he adores. He rises and draws the veil over the whole altar. Bracket, the circumambulation of the temple. Close bracket. All rise and stand to order. Bracket, at the direction of the deacon. Close bracket. The priest takes the lance from the deacon and holds it as before, as Osiris or Thoth. Note 39, Thoth, the ancient creator god of Memphis. The lance is held upright with both hands right above left. He circumambulates the temple 3 times. Note 40, the circumambulations are diocil, as this is a solar ritual. The phrase followed by the deacon and the children as before refers to when the deacon and the children followed the priest as he led the priestess to the altar, not to the serpentine motion of the priestess around the temple, during which only the children followed her. These, when not using their hands, keep their arms crossed upon their breasts. Once without notes. All rise, the circumambulation of the temple. All rise and stand to order at the direction of the deacon. The priest takes the lance from the deacon and holds it as before, as Osiris or Thoth. or fitto. He circumambulates the temple 3 times, followed by the deacon and the children as before. These, when not using their hands, keep their arms crossed upon their breasts. Bracket. The ascent to the veil. Close bracket. At the last circumambulation, they leave him and go to the place between the font and the small altar, where they kneel in adoration, their hands joined palm to palm and raised above their head. And raised above their heads. All, bracket, the people, close bracket, imitate this motion. In brackets, the priest's first oration before the veil. Close bracket. The priest returns to the east and mounts the first step of the altar, the priest. O circle of stars, whereof our Father is but the younger brother, marvel beyond imagination, soul of infinite space, before whom time is ashamed, the mind bewildered, and the understanding dark. Not unto thee may we attain, unless thine image be love. Therefore by seed and root and stem and bud and leaf and flower and fruit do we invoke thee. Then the priest answered and said unto the queen of space, kissing her lovely brows, and the dew of her light bathing his whole body in a sweet-smelling perfume of sweat, O Nuit, continuous one of heaven, let it be ever thus, that men speak not of thee as one, but as none. And let them speak not of thee at all, since thou art continuous. In brackets, Liber Al 127. Also in brackets, the priestess's oration from behind the veil. Brackets closed. During this speech, the priestess must have divested herself completely of her robe. See CCXX or 220, chapter 1, verse 62, note 44. At all my meetings with you shall the priestess say, and her eyes shall burn with desire as she stands bare and rejoicing in my secret temple, to me, calling forth the flame of the hearts of all in her love chant. Liber Al 162. The divesting of the priestess behind the veil in the secret temple of the closed shrine is a very important part of the ritual and must not be omitted. As the scripts state later, the priestess may resume her robe or her inner robe or her inner white robe, if necessary, before the veil is again opened. The priestess's privacy may be assured by the use of a veil fashioned of opaque material. If possible, the priestess should stand to deliver her oration in keeping with the injunction of Al 162. The priestess. But to love me is better than all things. If under the night stars in the desert thou presently burnest But to love me is better than all things. If under the night stars in the desert thou presently burnest mine incense before me, invoking me with a pure heart, and the serpent flame therein, thou shalt come a little to lie in my bosom. For one kiss wilt thou then be willing to give all. But whosoever gives one particle of dust shall lose all in that hour. Ye shall gather goods and stores of women and spices. Ye shall wear rich jewels. Ye shall exceed the nations of the earth in splendor and pride. but always in the love of me. And so shall ye come to my joy. I charge you earnestly to come before me in a single robe and covered with a rich headdress. I love you. I yearn to you, pale or purple, veiled or voluptuous. I who am all pleasure and purple, and drunkenness of the innermost sense, desire you. Put on the wings and arouse the coiled splendor within you. Come unto me. In brackets, Liber Al 161, close brackets. To me, brackets, Liber Al 162, close brackets. Sing the rapturous love song unto me. Burn to me perfumes. Wear to me jewels. Drink to me, for I love you. I love you. I am the blue-lidded daughter of sunset. I am the naked brilliance of the voluptuous night sky. To me. Liber Al 163 through 65. In brackets, the priest's second oration before the veil, close brackets. The priest mounts the second step. The priest. O secret of secrets, that art hidden in the being of all that lives. Not thee do we adore, for that which adoreth is also thou. Thou art that, and that am I. I am the flame that burns in every heart of man, and in the core of every star. I am life, and the giver of life. Yet therefore is the knowledge of me the knowledge of death. Brackets, Liber Al 2:6, close brackets. I am alone. There is no God where I am. Note 45. Also see Liber CDX V111 or 418, 7th and 5th Aethers, wherein it is stated that there is a slight emphasis on the word there. I am alone. There is no God where I am. Liber Al 2:23, brackets, the calendar, close brackets. The deacon and all rise to their feet with the hailing sign. The deacon. But ye, O my people, rise up and awake. Let the rituals be rightly performed with joy and beauty. There are rituals of the elements and feasts of the times. A feast for the first night of the prophet and his bride, a feast for the 3 days of the writing of the book of the law, a feast for Tahuti and the children of the prophet. Secret, O prophet. A feast for the supreme ritual, and a feast for the equinox of the gods, a feast for fire and a feast for water, a feast for life and a greater feast for death, a feast every day in your hearts in the joy of my rapture, a feast every night unto Nuh, and the pleasure of uttermost delight. Liber Al 2:34 to 43. In brackets, the people may resume their seats. Also in brackets, the priest's third oration before the veil. Close bracket. The priest mounts the third step. The priest. Thou that art one, O Lord, in the mystery. Thou that art one, our Lord in the universe, the Son, our Lord in ourselves, whose name is mystery of mystery, uttermost being, whose radiance enlightening the worlds is also the breath that maketh every god, even and death, to tremble before thee. By the sign of light. Note 47. The priest may at this point, with good effect, trace a cross before the veil, then form a cross with his body as the sign of light, or first sign of LVX from the ritual of the hexagram. See also gestures on page 112. Iron cross, appear thou glorious upon the throne of the sun. Make open the path of creation and of intelligence between us and our minds. Enlighten our understanding. Encourage our hearts. Let thy light crystallize itself in our blood, fulfilling us of resurrection. Note 48. This passage incorporates the Yaheshua formula. See the chapter on Tetragrammaton, page 108. Akadu atuf ud biu biachifu dudu nuraf anuteru. Note 49. This is a portion of the Bulak Museum transliteration of the Stele of Revealing. A relatively literal translation is, O High One, may he be praised, the one great of power, the Spirit great of dignity, who places fear of himself among the gods. Crowley's poetic paraphrase of this passage is, Unity uttermost showed, I adore the might of thy breath, supreme and terrible God, who makest the gods and death to tremble before thee. I adore thee. Another paraphrase occurs earlier in this passage, beginning with uttermost being. See also Liber CDX V11 or 418, second Aether. The priest may sing the Akadua to the tune provided in Book 4, Part 1, Chapter 2. Once through without notes. The priest mounts the third step. Once through without notes. The priest's third oration before the veil. The priest mounts the third step. The priest. Thou art one, our Lord in the universe, the Son. Our Lord in ourselves, whose name is mystery of mystery, uttermost being, whose radiance enlightening the worlds is also the breath that maketh every god, even and death, to tremble before thee. By the sign of light, iron cross, appear thou glorious upon the throne of the sun. Make open the path of creation and of intelligence between us and our minds. Enlighten our understanding. Encourage our hearts. Let thy light crystallize itself in our blood, fulfilling us of resurrection. Akadu atuf ud biu biachifu dudu nuraf anuteru. The priestess, there is no law beyond doeth thy wilt. In brackets, Liber Al 360, close brackets, brackets again, the opening of the veil, close brackets. It is now the hour of Jupiter.
shukr to Nuruddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I made dua that you find something reasonable. And, Sheikh Abdul Rahman gave us something to help with financial embarrassments. For 40 days after the sunnahs of Fajr and before its fard, say one time, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Subhana man yujiru wa la yujaru alayh. Subhana man yubra'u min al-hawli wal-quwwati ilayh. Subhana man tasbihu min mannihi ala man a'tamada alayhi. Subhanaka la ilaha illa ant. Ya man yusabbihu lahu al-jami' tadarakni bi'afwika fa inni jazua. After which one says 100 times, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah al-azim, astaghfirullah. So we did that when we had difficult financial times, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fixed us up. And keep me in your prayers, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The keeper of the Eastern Temple. And here in Madison, Wisconsin, there are the sounds of the cicadas. And the Michiganders as well. The priestess. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. Liber al 360. The opening of the veil. The priest parts the veil with his lance. During the previous speeches, the priestess has, if necessary, as in savage countries, note 50, it only takes one savage among the people to make a savage country, and the power to assess the degree of savagery in the temple properly belongs solely to the priestess. Some circumstances may require that the priestess resume her robe, but nobody has the right to insist to her that she leave it off. The priest parts the veil with his lance. During the previous speeches, the priestess has, if necessary, as in savage countries, resumed her robe. The priest. Io, 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 iao, sabao, cure abraxas, cure metras, cure fale, io pan, pan io escuros, io atanatos, io abrotos, io iao, jaire vale, jaire pamfage, jaire panjanator, hagios, 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 iao. The priestess is seated with the paten in her right hand and the cup in her left, brackets. She then sets them down, the paten to her left, the cup to her right, close brackets. The priest presents the lance, which she kisses 11 times. She then holds it to her breast, while the priest, falling at her knees, kisses them, her arms stretched along her thighs. Note 52. For the priest's arms to be stretched, they must fully for the priest's arms to be stretched, they must be fully extended and not bent at the elbow. For the priest's arms to be stretched along the priest's thighs, they must be adjacent to and parallel to the priest's thighs. Clearly, the priestess For the priest's arms to be stretched along the priestess's thighs, they must be adjacent to and parallel to the priestess's thighs. Clearly, the priestess must have her knees fairly close together to allow the priest to do this. He remains in this adoration while the deacon intones the collects. Note 53. To intone is to recite in a singing or chanting voice. An MP3 file of Aleister Crowley intoning the first 4 collects is available at http://hermetica.com/Sabazius/sounds.html. Again, http://sounds.html. Once again, http://HERMETICA.sounds.html. All stand to order. Note 54. This direction is given again immediately before the deacon is to intone the 10th collect. Death. The instruction to stand for the death collect was added by Crowley for the Magic in Theory and Practice edition of 1929-30 and should therefore take precedence over this direction. All stand to order with the due guard, that is, feet square, hands with linked thumbs held loosely. This is the universal position when standing unless other direction is given. Once again without notes. The priestess is seated with the paten in her right hand and the cup in her left. She then sets them down, the paten to her left, the cup to her right. The priest presents the lance, which she kisses 11 times. She then holds it to her breast, while the priest, falling at her knees, kisses them, her arms stretched along her thighs. She then holds it to her breast, while the priest, falling at her knees, kisses them, his arms stretched along her thighs. He remains in this adoration while the deacon intones the collects. All stand to order with the due guard, that is, feet square, hands with linked thumbs held loosely. This is the universal position when standing, unless other direction is given. 5. Of the office of the collects. Note 55. A collect, the accent is on the second syllable. A collect is a short prayer uttered at a gathering of worshippers, and suitable to the time or occasion. Our codex are 11 such short prayers. See previous comments on the number 11. All 11 are traditionally read or recited at each Mass. The codex are an essential part of Liber 15, and there is nothing in Liber 15 that would indicate that they are in any way optional. A Gnostic Mass without the Codex would be something, surely, but it would not be the Gnostic Mass according to Liber 15. See also Codex, page 80. Office 5. Of the office of the Codex, which are 11 in number, the Son, the Deacon, Lord visible and sensible, of whom this earth is but a frozen spark turning about thee, with annual and diurnal motion, source of light, source of life. Let thy perpetual radiance hearten us to continual labor and enjoyment, so that as we are constant partakers of thy bounty, we may in our particular orbit give out light and life, sustenance and joy to them that revolve about us without diminution of substance or effulgence forever. The people, so mote it be. Note 56. See footnote 100. Crowley sings, so mote it be, to the following notes: C sharp, B flat, C natural, C sharp. The Lord, the Deacon, Lord secret and most holy, source of light, source of life, source of love, source of liberty, be thou ever constant and mighty within us, force of energy, fire of motion. With diligence let us ever labor with thee, that we may remain in thine abundant joy. The people, so mote it be. The moon, the Deacon, Lady of night, that turning ever about us art now visible and now invisible in thy season. Be thou favorable to hunters and lovers, and to all men that toil upon the earth, and to all mariners upon the sea. The people, so mote it be. The Lady, the Deacon, giver and receiver of joy, gate of life and love. The Deacon, giver and receiver of joy, gate of life and love. Be thou ever ready, thou and thine handmaiden, in thine office of gladness. The people, so mote it be. The Saints. Note 1. Essay on the Note 1. Essays on the individual saints can be found in Part 3, beginning on page 123. The Saints, the Deacon, Lord of life and joy, thou art the might of men. Lord of life and joy, thou Lord of life and joy, that art the might of man, that art the essence of every true God that is upon the surface of the earth, continuing knowledge from generation unto generation. Thou adored of us upon heaths and in woods, on mountains and in caves, openly in the marketplaces and secretly in the chambers of our houses. in temples of gold and ivory and marble as in these other temples of our bodies. We worthily commemorate them worthy, that did of old adore thee and manifest thy glory unto men. At each name, the deacon signs iron cross with thumb between index and medius. At ordinary Mass, it is only necessary to commemorate those names. At ordinary Mass, it is only necessary to commemorate those whose names are italicized with wording as is shown. First, the italicized. Lauz and Siddhartha, Tahuti, Dionysus, Muhammad, and 2 Megatherion. With these also, Bon and Mentu, Heracles, Catullus, Rabelais, Swinburne, and many an holy bard, Apollonius, Dianus, Pythagoras, Bardesanes, and Hippolytus, that transmitted the light of the Gnosis to us, their successors and their heirs. And these also, Jacobus Burgundus Molensus the Martyr, Christian Rosenkreutz, Roderick Borgia, Pope Alexander VI, Sir Edward Kelly, Alphonse Louis Constant, and Sir Alistair Crowley. Altogether, Lord of life and joy, that art the might of man, that art the essence of every true God that is upon the surface of the earth, continuing knowledge from generation unto generation, thou art adored of us upon heaths and in woods, on mountains and in caves, openly in the marketplaces and secretly in the chambers of our houses, in temples of gold and ivory and marble as in these other temples of our bodies. We worthily commemorate them worthy, that did of old adore thee and manifest thy glory unto men. Lauz and Siddhartha, and Krishna and Tahuti, Moshe, Dionysus, Muhammad, and 2 Megatherion. With these also, Hermes, Pan, Priapus, Osiris, and Melchizedek, Ham and Amun, and Mentu, Heracles, Orpheus, and Odysseus, with Virgilius, Catullus, Martialis, Rabelais, Swinburne, and many an holy bard, Apollonius Dianus, Simon Magus, Manus, Pythagoras, Basilides, Valentinus, Bardesanes, and Hippolytus, that transmitted the light of the Gnosis to us and their successors and their heirs, with Merlin, Arthur, Camoret, Parzival, and many another prophet, priest, and king, that bore the lance and cup, the sword and disc, against the heathen. And these also Carolus Magnus and his paladins, with William of Shiren, Frederick of Hohenstaufen, Roger Bacon, Jacobus Burgundus Molensus the Martyr, Christian Rosenkreutz, Ulrich von Hutten, Paracelsus, Michael Mayer, Roderick Borgia, Pope Alexander VI, Jacob Boehme, Francis Bacon, Lord Verulam, Andrea, Robertus de Fluctibus, Giordano Bruno. Note 2. The name Giordano Bruno was added to the list by Patriarch Hymenaeus Beta on February 17, 2000, Common Era, in commemoration of the 400th anniversary of Bruno's martyrdom. This was Anu IV7, or 75 plus 22 equals 97, Sol 28 degrees Aquarius, Luna 4 degrees Leo, Dies Joves are a Friday, Thursday, February 17, 2000, Era Vulgar, 3 p.m. Johannes D., Sir Edward Kelly, Thomas Vaughan, or Vaughan, Elias Ashmole, Molinus, Adam Weishaupt, Wolfgang von Goethe, William Blake. Note 59. The name William Blake was added to the list by Patriarch Hymenaeus Beta in the fall of 1997 Common Era, based on Crowley's essay William Blake, published in Oriflame 2, Ordo Templi Orientis, 1998 Common Era. This essay can be found on page 232. Ludovicus Rex Bavaria, Richard Wagner, Alphonse Louis Constant, Frederick Nietzsche, Hargrave Jennings, Carl Kellner, Forlong Dux, Sir Richard Payne Knight, Sir Richard Francis Burton, Paul Vaughan, Dr. Gerard Nkosse, Dr. Theodore Roos, and Sir Aleister Crowley. O sons of the lion and the snake, with all thy saints we worthily commemorate them worthy that were and are to come. Note 60. Patriarch Hymenaeus Beta has stated that the names of one or more of the deceased post-Crowley OHOs of OTO, Carl Johannes Germer, and Major Grady Louis McMurtry, may optionally be added by the deacon in any Gnostic Mass after the name of Sir Aleister Crowley. The saints, the deacon. Lord of life and joy, that art the might of man, that art the essence of every true God that is upon the surface of the earth, continuing knowledge from generation unto generation, thou adored of us upon heaths and in woods, on mountains and in caves, openly in the marketplaces and secretly in the chambers of our houses, in temples of gold and ivory and marble, as in these other temples of our bodies. We worthily commemorate them worthy that did of old adore thee and manifest thy glory unto men. Lao Tzu and Siddhartha, and Krishna and Tahuti, Moshe, Dionysus, Muhammad, and 2 Megatherion. With these also Hermes, Pan, Priapus, Osiris, and Melchizedek, Ham and Amun, and Mintu, Heracles, Orpheus, and Odysseus, with Virgilius, Catullus, Martialis, Rabelais, Swinburne, and many an holy bard, Apollonius Dianus, Simon Magus, Manis, Pythagoras, Basiliadus, Valentinus, Bardesanes, and Hippolytus, that transmitted the light of the Gnosis to us, their successors and their heirs. With Merlin, Arthur, Camuret, Parzival, and many another prophet, priest, and king, that bore the lance and cup, the sword and disc, against the heathen. And these also, Carolus Magnus and his paladins, with William of Chiron, Frederick of Hohenstaufen, Roger Bacon, Jacobus Burgundus Molensus the Martyr, Christian Rosenkreutz, Ulrich von Hutten, Paracelsus, Michael Mayer, Roderick Borgia, Pope Alexander VI, Jacob Boehme, Francis Bacon, Lord Verulam, Andrea Robertus de Fluctibus, Giordano Bruno, Johannes D., Sir Edward Kelly, Thomas Vaughan, Elias Ashmole, Molinus, Adam Weishaupt, Wolfgang von Goethe, William Blake, Ludovicus Rex Bavaria, Richard Wagner, Alphonse Louis Constant, Friedrich Nietzsche, Hargrave Jennings, Karl Kellner, Forlong Dux, Sir Richard Payne Knight, Sir Richard Francis Burton, Paul Gauguin, Dr. Gerard Ngosse, Dr. Theodore Roos, and Sir Alistair Crowley, Carl Johannes Germer, Major Grady Louis McMurtry. O sons of the lion and the snake, with all thy saints we worthily commemorate them worthy, that were and are to come. May their essence be here, present, potent, puissant, and paternal, to perfect this feast, the people. So mote it be. Kolek, the earth, the deacon, mother of fertility, of whose breast, mother of fertility, on whose breast lieth water, whose cheek is caressed by air, and whose heart is the sun's fire, whom of all life, recurring grace of seasons, answer favorably the prayer of labor, and to pastors and husbandmen be thou propitious, the people. So mote it be. Collect of the principles, the deacon. Mysterious energy, triform, mysterious matter, in fourfold and sevenfold division, the interplay of which things weave the dance of the veil of life upon the face of the spirit. Let there be harmony and beauty in your mystic loves, that in us may be health and wealth, and strength and divine pleasure, according to the law of liberty. Let us pursue his will as a strong man that rejoices in his way, as the course of a star that blazeth forever among the joyous company of heaven, the people. So mote it be. Collect of birth, the deacon. Be the hour auspicious, and the gate of life open in peace and in well-being, so that she that beareth children may rejoice, and the babe catch life with both hands. The people, so mote it be. Marriage, the deacon, upon all that this day unite with love under will, let fall success. May strength and skill unite to bring forth ecstasy, order, and beauty answer beauty. The people, so mote it be. Death. All stand, head erect, eyes open. The deacon, term of all that liveth, whose name is inscrutable, be favorable unto us in thine hour. The people, so mote it be. It is now the hour of Mars. The people, so mote it be. The collect of the end. The deacon, unto them from whose eyes the veil of life hath fallen, may there be granted the accomplishment of their true wills, whether they will absorption in the infinite, or to be united with their chosen and preferred, or to be in contemplation, or to be at peace, or to achieve the labor and heroism of incarnation on this planet or another, or in any star, or aught else, unto them may there be granted the accomplishment of their wills, yea, the accomplishment of their wills. The people, so mote it be. All the people sit. The deacon and the children attend the priest and the priestess, ready to hold an appropriate weapon as may be necessary. Note 61. The deacon goes to the altar with the priest. The children remain below. Part 6. Of the consecration of the elements. The priestess picks up the cup and paten. Note 62. The cup may be in her right hand and the paten in her left. Again, note 62. The cup must be in her right hand and the paten in her left. And for the priests, the cup must be in her right hand and the paten in her left, for the priest's cross to form a pentagram. The priest makes the 5 crosses. Note 63. This may be done by making the first 3 crosses in a lateral plane above both the paten and cup, and the final 2 crosses in a horizontal plane above the paten and cup, respectively. The crosses and other actions performed at the altar can be difficult for the people to see. The priest and priestess should endeavor to make their gestures in such a way that at least part of the congregation will be able to follow their actions. According to Agape Lodge tradition, the priest makes the crosses with the right hand while holding the lance in the left. Also see Gestures, page 112. One, iron cross. Beneath it, 2, iron cross. 3, iron cross on paten and cup. 4, iron cross on paten alone. 5, iron cross on cup alone. The priest, life of man upon earth, fruit of labor, sustenance of endeavor, thus be thou nourishment of the spirit. He touches the host with the lance. By the virtue of the rod, be this bread the body of God. He hands the lance to the deacon. He takes the host. Totu esti tu summa moi. Note 64. Greek meaning, this is my body. See Greek words, page 100. He replaces hosts, kneels, adores, rises, takes paten and host, turns, shows host to the people, holding the paten beneath it, turns, replaces paten and host, and adores. Music. He takes the cup. Note 65, on takes paten and host. When the host is being handled after it has been consecrated, it has been my personal practice for many years to hold the paten beneath it in order to catch any consecrated crumbs which may fall. However, many follow the rubric exactly as stated. Note 66 on he takes the cup. The identical instruction is given again shortly without the priest having had any opportunity to relinquish the cup. Also, since the priest is holding the lance, but not the host, when he delivers the parallel line, life of man upon earth, it is my opinion, not universally shared, that this stage direction is erroneous, and that the priest should, at this point, take the lance, not the cup. Vehicle of the joy of man upon earth, solace of labor, inspiration of endeavor, thus be thou ecstasy of the spirit. He touches the cup with the lance. By the virtue of the rod, be this wine the blood of God. He hands the lance to the deacon and takes the cup. Totu esti tu poterion tau haim atos moi. Note 67. Greek meaning, this is the cup of my blood. These are the same words in Greek as the Latin words used in the Mass of the Roman Catholic Church. See Greek words, page 100. He replaces the cup, kneels, adores, rises, takes the cup, turns, shows the people. He replaces the cup, kneels, adores, rises, takes the cup, turns, shows the cup to the people, turns, replaces the cup, and adores. Music. He takes the lance. For this is the covenant of resurrection. Note 68. This line corresponds to the prayer Unde et memores in the Catholic. This line corresponds to the prayer Unde et memores in the Roman Catholic Mass. He makes the 5 crosses on the priestess. Accept, O Lord, this sacrifice of life, indicates host, and joy indicates cup, true warrants of the covenant of resurrection. Note 69. true warrants. This line corresponds to the supra kosa or kwa. The priest offers the lance to the priestess, who kisses it. He then touches her between the breasts and upon the body. He then flings out his arms upward, as comprehending the whole shrine. Let this offering be borne upon the waves of aether to our Lord and Father, the Son, that travelleth over the heavens in his name. Note 70. This corresponds to the supplices. Is an arcanum of arcana. Its significance is taught gradually in the OTO. From Magic in Theory and Practice, a footnote in section G of Liber Semich. He closes his hands, kisses the priestess between the breasts, and makes 3 great crosses over the paten. The cup and himself, he strikes his breasts. All repeat this action. Hear ye all, saints of the true church of old time, now essentially present, that of ye we claim heirship. With ye we claim communion. From ye we claim benediction. In the name of Note 71 on Hear Ye All, Saints of the True Church of Old Time. They were invoked by the deacon in the collects. He makes 3 crosses on paten and cup together. He hands the lance to the deacon. He uncovers the cup, genuflects, takes the cup in his left hand, and the host in his right. With the host he makes the 5 crosses on the cup. Center top, 1 iron cross, left, right middle, once again, center top, 1 iron cross, right middle, 2 iron cross, left middle, 3 iron cross, right bottom, 4 iron cross, left bottom, 5 iron cross. He elevates the host and the cup. The bell strikes. Note 72. The host must be held directly above the cup. According to Forlong, the Mass should be celebrated in the morning hours, and ideally, the elevation of the host should be timed to occur precisely at midday. Note 73. See Book 4, Part 2, Chapter 14. The rubric does not specify who strikes the bell, but common practice has the deacon striking it, even though the deacon is typically holding the lance at this point. The Trisagion or Sanctus. Hagios, 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 Iao. Note 74, Greek meaning holy, 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 Iao. These words are equivalent to the Sanctus, Sanctus, Sanctus Dominus, Deus Sabaoth of the Roman Catholic Mass, and to the Kadosh, 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 Iodhevate Zabaoth of the ancient Hebrew temple service. See Greek words, page 100. He replaces the host and the cup and adores. Note 75. This is the end of the canon of the Mass. The priest takes the lance. The deacon returns to his usual station. Part 7 of the Office of the Anthem. Note 76. This anthem was taken from The Ship, a play written by Crowley which represents in allegorical form the legend of the three. Note 76. This anthem was taken from The Ship, a play written by Crowley which represents in allegorical form the legend of the third degree of Masonry. It was published in 1913, the year of its writing, in the Equinox, Volume 1, Number 10. The Ship bears the dedication to Theodore Roos. Between the end of Part 6 and before the beginning of Part 8, the priest must take his lance from the deacon and stand up. I take the lance before beginning the anthem and stand up with the words, Thee I invoke. After returning the lance to the priest, the deacon may resume his station between the small altar and the font. The priestess will henceforth be able to hold the lance for the priest as needed. Frater H.K. 1131, the Grand Organist for the U.S. Grand Lodge of OTO, has composed a musical setting for this anthem. The sheet music is available as a PDF file at hermetic.com/sabasius/sounds.html or hermetic.com/sabasius/sounds.html. Once again, hermetic.com/sabasius/sounds.html. The free Adobe Acrobat Reader software, which may be obtained at get.adobe.com/reader/, is required to read this file. Richard Kaczynski has rendered this music as a MIDI or MIDI file, which is available at http:// HTML. Part 7. Office of the Anthem. The Priest. Thou who art I beyond all I am, who hast no nature and no name, who art when all but thou art gone, thou center and secret of the sun, thou hidden spring of all things known and unknown, thou aloof, alone, thou the true fire within the reed. Note 77. Prometheus is said to have brought fire to mankind, having stolen it from the sun and brought it to earth in a hollow reed. Brooding and breeding, source and seed of life, love, liberty, and light, thou beyond speech and beyond sight, thee I invoke. My faint fresh fire, kindling as mine intents aspire, thee I invoke. Abiding one, thee, center and secret of the sun, in that most holy mystery, of which the vehicle am I, appear most awful and most mild, as it is lawful in thy child. The chorus. For of the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit is the norm, male, female, quintessential one, man being veiled in woman form, glory and worship in the highest, thou dove mankind that deifiest, being that race most royally run, to spring sunshine through winter storm, glory and worship be to thee, sap of the world ash wonder tree. Sap of the world ash. Note 78. Yggdrasil, the world tree of Norse mythology, was said to be an ash tree in both the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. Wonder tree. First semi-chorus, men, glory to thee from gilded tomb. Second semi-chorus, women, glory to thee from waiting womb. Men, glory to thee from earth unplowed. Women, glory to thee from virgin vowed. Men, glory to thee, true unity of the eternal Trinity. Women, glory to thee, thou, sire and dam, and self of I am that I am. Men, glory to thee beyond all term, thy spring of sperm, thy seed and germ. Women, glory to thee, eternal Son, thou one and three, thou three in one. Chorus. Glory and worship be to thee, sap of the world ash wonder tree. These words are to form the substance of the anthem, but the whole or any part thereof shall be set to music, which may be as elaborate as art can devise. But even should other anthems be authorized by the Father of the Church, this shall hold its place as the first of its kind, the Father of all others. Read again without notes and with accompaniment of nay improvisation of the Tariqa Levliya of Sultan Walid, the son of Jalaluddin Rumi, al-Bathi.
Alhamdulillah wa shukran to
Again, in Hameen K, the keeper of the Eastern Temple. Thou who art I beyond all I am, who hast no nature and no name, who art when all but thou are gone, thou center and secret of the sun, thou hidden spring of all things known and unknown, thou aloof, alone, thou the true fire within the reed, brooding and breeding source and seed of life, love, liberty, and light, thou beyond speech and beyond sight. Thee I invoke, my faint fresh fire, kindling as mine intense aspire. Thee I invoke, abiding one, thee center and secret of the sun, in that most holy mystery, of which the vehicle am I, appear most awful and most mild, as it is lawful in thy child. For of the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit is the norm, male, female, quintessential one, man being veiled in woman form, glory and worship in the highest, thou dove, mankind that deifiest, being that race most royally run, to spring sunshine through winter storm, glory and worship be to thee, sap of the world ash wonder tree. Glory to thee from gilded tomb, glory to thee from waiting womb, glory to thee from earth unplowed, glory to thee from virgin vowed, glory to thee, true unity of the eternal Trinity. Glory to thee, thy sire and dam, in self of I am that I am. Glory to thee beyond all term, thy spring of sperm, thy seed and germ. Glory to thee, eternal Son, thou one in three, thou three in one. Glory to thee, glory and worship be to thee, sap of the world ash wonder tree. Part 8 of the mystic marriage and consummation of the elements. The priest takes the paten between the index and medius of the right hand. The priestess clasps the cup in her right hand, the blessing of the elements. Note 79. This passage incorporates symbolism of the 7 planets as follows: health, Mercury, Asclepius; wealth, Jupiter; strength, Mars; joy, Venus; peace, Saturn; and that fulfillment of will, Soul; and of love underwill, Luna. That is perpetual happiness, Earth. The priest. Lord most secret, bless this spiritual food unto our bodies, bestowing upon us health and wealth and strength and joy and peace and that fulfillment of will and of love under will that is perpetual happiness. He makes the iron cross with paten and kisses it. He sets paten on altar and hands lance to priestess, the fractio. He uncovers the cup, genuflects, rises, music. He takes the host and breaks it over the cup. He replaces the hand portion in the paten. He breaks off a particle, note 80, called the particula of the left hand portion. He breaks off a particle of the left hand portion. Totu esti tu sperma moi. Ho pater estin ho huios dia tu numa hagion. Note 81. Greek meaning, this is my seed. The Father is the Son through the Holy Spirit. See Greek words, page 100. He replaces the left hand part of the host. Once again, straight through. Lord, most secret bliss, this spiritual food unto our bodies, bestowing upon us health and wealth and strength and joy and peace and that fulfillment of will and of love under will, that is perpetual happiness. Totu esti tu sperma moi. Ho pater estin ho huios dia tu numa hagion. The priestess extends the lance point with her left hand to receive the particle. The priest clasps the cup in his left hand. Together, they depress the lance point in the cup. Note 82. The host represents the grain of Ceres, which was the child as well as the son. S-U-N. The wine is that of Bacchus, the Holy Spirit of ecstasy. The particle plunged into the wine represents the union of Hadith and Nuit, the dissolution of the king, the baptism of wisdom, and the casting of the last drop of blood into the cup of Babylon. It is both the process of incarnation and of illumination. The priest and the priestess. Note 83. This word is unique to Thelema. It comes from a song contained in the second aether of Liber 30 XXX, Erum vel seculi sub figura CDX V11, or 418, the vision and the voice. The song is written in a magical language called Thelemic, or the language of the Sappho Calypso angel, and is as follows. Translation. I am the harlot that shaketh death. This shaking giveth the peace of satiate lust. Immortality jetteth from my skull, and music from my vulva. Immortality jetteth from my vulva also. From my whoredom is a sweet scent like a seven-stringed instrument, played unto God the invisible, the all-ruler, that goeth along giving the shrill screams of orgasm. Umari Tisala Marax Tisala Dudi Foreign Epochs Amri Radora Polyax Armana Piliu Amri Radara Piliu Son Mai Narya Barbiton Madara Anafax Sarpidon Andala Hiralu. It is now the hour of the sun. In the heart of the master, Hiroru is represented as the voice of the dove, attributed to Netzach. There is nothing too small, or too great, or too low, or too high. But all things are joined into joy by the love of the master. The word is also used in chapter 24 of the Book of Lies, the hawk and the blind worm. The priest takes the lance. The priestess covers the cup. The epiklesis, or the epiklesis. Note 84. The epiklesis, also spelled epiklesis, Epiclesis, which is found in the Orthodox liturgy, but is absent from the Roman Catholic liturgy, is an invocation of the Holy Spirit over the elements and the congregation. It begins with these words: "Moreover, we offer you this spiritual and unbloody sacrifice, and we ask, pray, and entreat you to send down your Holy Spirit upon us, and upon these gifts here offered." This passage of the Gnostic Mass also corresponds structurally to the Agnus Dei of the Roman Catholic Church, of the Roman Catholic Mass. The priest hands the lance to the priestess, genuflects, rises, bows, joins hands, he strikes his breast. The priest. O lion and O serpent, that destroys the destroyer, be mine. O lion and O serpent that destroy the destroyer, be mighty among us. O lion and O serpent that destroy the destroyer, be mighty among us. O lion and O serpent that destroys the destroyer, be mighty among us. The consummation of the elements. The priest joins hands upon the breast of the priestess and takes back his lance. He turns to the people, lowers and raises the lance, and makes the iron cross upon them. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. The people, love is the law, love under will. He lowers the lance and turns to east. The priestess takes the lance in her right hand. With her left hand she offers the paten. The priest kneels. The priest, in my mouth be the essence of the life of the sun. He takes the host with his right hand, makes iron cross with it on the paten, and consumes it. Silence. The priestess takes, uncovers, and offers the cup as before. The priest, in my mouth be the essence of the joy of the earth. He takes the cup, makes iron cross on the priestess, drains it, and returns it. Silence. He rises, takes the lance, and turns to the people. The priest, there is no part of me that is not of the gods. Note 87. This line comes from the Golden Dawn Adeptus Minor ritual, the Rose Cross degree. It was obtained originally from a line from chapter 42 on plate 32 of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. In shoot rendered in modern translations as, there is no member of mine devoid of a God. The following is an extract from Crowley's Not the Life and Adventures of Sir Roger Bloxham. See you not how even our dreams, our wishes, all that we are, dates back to hidden ancestor work? Only the Freudians go not far enough. The glowing seed that made my mind so brilliant had its origin in the Father of all brilliance, our Lord the Sun. Thus, once again, by yet another path we reach the brave. There is no part of me which is not of the gods. Rejoice, O brothers, we are all together of the divine substance. We neither think, nor feel, nor perceive, nor are any other thing than that all bounteous, all beautiful, one, that Lord in his splendor and his ecstasy, that cometh and goeth in his chariot upon high, giving light and praise, yet neither moveth nor uttereth any voice. For there is nothing in the universe that is not of that unity. Rejoice. Rejoice. All paths are spectra in the prism of consciousness of that one light. The rubric does not call for any response to this declaration from the people. According to Agape Lodge tradition, the communicant faces the priestess while speaking these words. Those of the people who intend to communicate, and none other should be present, having signified their intention, a whole cake of light and a whole goblet of wine have been prepared for each one. Note 88. The words whole goblet are a clear indication that each communicant is to receive a full portion of wine rather than a sip from a communal cup. Further, the rubric's use of the word goblet is significant. This is the only place in Liber 15, XB, where the word goblet is used. The vessel from which the priest drank his consecrated wine is consistently referred to throughout Liber 15 as either the cup or the rol, or the holy rol. It is clear that the intention was not to have each communicant drink from the same cup from which the priest drank. It is also clear that the wine contained in the individual communicants' goblets is not the consecrated wine poured into them from the priest's cup, but because the priest has drained that cup during his communion. Again, it is also clear that the wine contained in the individual communicant's goblet is not consecrated wine poured into them from the priest's cup, because the priest has drained that cup during his communion. Therefore, each communicant should be provided with his or her own individual goblet of wine. At Agape Lodge, the individual goblets were placed on a tray which was placed on the right side of the altar. The individual goblets of wine may be poured in advance or at the time of communion from any appropriate vessel. Some have argued that the people should communicate from the same cup as did the priest in order to effect a magical link between the officers and the people, or in order to assure that the people receive the effect of the consecration of the priest's wine. However, the rubric is clear. Furthermore, the cakes of light and the wine received by the people remain, despite such efforts, fundamentally different from those consumed by the priest. The cakes of light consumed by the people are whole, not broken. Their wine does not contain the particula, and their cakes and wine were treated very differently than those of the priest during the course of the ceremony. The actual mechanism by which the miracle of the Mass is effected is declared in the Creed. And for as much as meat and drink are transmuted in us daily into spiritual substance, I believe in the miracle of the Mass. It is the internal alchemy of each individual communicant which ultimately effects the transmutation of the elements they consume. Informed and inspired by that miracle, performed by the officers of the ceremony, but not entirely dependent upon it. If the communicants were to wholly rely on the priest and priestess to perform vicariously the miracle of the Mass for them, it would be a contradiction of the very words spoken during their own communion. There is no part of me that is not of the gods. End of note. The people, again, those of the people who intend to communicate, and none others should be present, having signified their intention, a whole cake of light and a whole goblet of wine have been prepared for each one. The deacon marshals them. They advance one by one to the altar. The children take the elements and offer them. The people communicate as did the priest, uttering the same words in an attitude of resurrection. There is no part of me that is not of the gods. The exceptions to this part of the ceremony are when it is of the nature of celebration, in which case none but the priest communicate, or the part of the ceremony of marriage, when none other save the two to be married partake, part of the ceremony of baptism, when only the child baptized partakes, and of confirmation at puberty, when only the persons confirmed partake. The sacrament may be reserved by the priest for administration to the sick in their homes. The priest closes all within the veil. Note 89 on the people communicate as did the priest. The words, the people communicate as did the priest, are sometimes interpreted to mean that the people, during their communion, should attempt to imitate as much as possible the actions performed by the priest during his communion. However, the communion of the people and the communion of the priest are, in reality, two very different gestures. As we have already seen, the elements received by the people are qualitatively different from those received by the priest. They are also received, according to the rubric, from the hands of the children rather than directly from the hands of the priestess. And further, according to Agape Lodge tradition, the people remain below at the foot of the steps during their communion. In reality, it is simply impossible for the people to communicate exactly as did the priest, and any attempt to imitate the communion of the priest must inevitably fall far short. Therefore, the phrase, the people communicate as did the priest, cannot mean that the people communicate in exactly the same way the priest communicated. So what does it mean then? Perhaps this will become clear if the quote is given in its full context. The people communicate as did the priest, uttering the same words in an attitude of resurrection. There is no part of me that is not of the gods. Thus, taken in its entirety, the passage is actually quite precise. The task of the communicant is simply to consume the elements offered by the children and then to utter the specified words in an attitude of resurrection, as did the priest. Any additional actions performed or words uttered during communication are superfluous. Agape Lodge tradition, according to Sorrow Merrill, had each communicant remain at the foot of the three steps, consume the elements in silence, and remain facing the priestess while uttering the prescribed words in the attitude of resurrection. The priestess stood off to the side of the dais. The communicant then quietly took his or her seat without any response or comment from the people. The rubric gives no direction regarding where the priest stands during the communion of the people. At Agape Lodge, the priest stood off to the side of the high altar during the communion of the people. I have, for many years, preferred to descend and stand between the tomb and the font during their communion. This aligns the priest, the deacon, the communicant, and the priestess along the center line of the temple. However, more recently, I have discovered that remaining in the same spot on the dais creates a similar alignment. Deacon, communicant, priest, priestess. And further, since the rubric gives no direction for the priest to move after his communion, the simplest interpretation of the rubric is that he does not move. If the high altar is the simplest interpretation of the rubric, However, more recently, I have discovered that remaining in the same spot on the dais creates a similar alignment: deacon, communicant, priest, priestess. And further, since the rubric gives no direction for the priest to move after his communion, the simplest interpretation of the rubric is that he does not move. If the high altar is actually 44 inches in height, in accordance with the specifications herein, then the face of the priestess is likely to be visible above the head of the priest and below the stele. Here then is a very practical rationale for constructing the high altar in accordance with Crowley's specifications. The obvious question then is this: if the priest faced the congregation during his communion utterance, why did Agape Lodge have the people face the priestess during theirs? One potential explanation is that the priest's stated duty is to administer the virtues to the brethren. It is he who must announce to the people that the work of the Mass has been successfully accomplished and that they may now partake of the sacrament prepared for them. It is he who must ritually inform them of the words that must be spoken at communion, just as the deacon ritually led them in giving the appropriate signs. When the priest makes his communion utterance while facing the people, he is in fact discharging these duties. Once discharged, these particular duties do not need to be performed again until the next Mass. Today, the direction each communicant faces during his or her utterance is largely governed by local tradition as well as by the physical position taken by the priest. Facing the priestess for the utterance can be viewed as an essentially mystical act, a personal experience of union with the divine, with the utterance representing a realization of the moment of unity, with no consciousness of separate individuality. Facing the people for the utterance can be viewed as an essential political act, a public apotheosis, with the utterance representing a proclamation and affirmation of personal divinity as expressed by separate individuality. There is meaning to be found in both customs. And local bodies should be prepared to accommodate communicants who wish to take communion either way. In turn, while attending Gnostic Mass in different areas, communicants should be sensitive to local custom. Whichever direction the communicant faces for the utterance, though, he or she should, in our opinion, and in keeping with the Agape Lodge tradition, remain at the foot of the steps throughout. The benediction, benedictio. With the lance he makes the iron cross on the people thrice thus. The priest: the Lord bless you. The Lord enlighten your minds and comfort your hearts and sustain your bodies. The Lord bring you to the accomplishment of your true wills, the great work, the summum bonum, true wisdom, and perfect happiness. He goes out. The deacon and children following into the tomb of the West. Note 90. The virtues having been administered to the brethren, the priest has now nothing to do but remain to whence he came. The deacon and children follow him into the tomb of the West, and clearly ask the deacon and children, again, note 90, the virtues having been administered to the brethren, the priest has now nothing to do but return to whence he came. The deacon and children follow him into the womb of the West, into the tomb of the West, as clearly stated in the rubric. This requires that the tomb either be of a sufficient size to accommodate 4 people, or that it have a false back, allowing the priest, deacon, and children to pass into a hidden space behind the tomb. Photographs of the tomb used at Agape Lodge reveal a tomb of the upright coffin design that would definitely not accommodate 4 people. However, as mentioned previously, the children were omitted from celebrations of the Gnostic Mass at Agape Lodge. It has been suggested that the phrase, the deacon and children following, being set off by commas, may simply be omitted by the standard rules of grammatical construction, leaving us with, he goes out into the tomb of the West. However, the fact that a clause is offset by commas does not necessarily mean that we are free to ignore it. The phrase set off by commas in this sentence is a parenthetical expression. Parentheses could have been used in lieu of commas without changing the meaning. As such, the phrase is intended to clarify or qualify the basic statement into which it is inserted. Which statement is, he, the priest, goes out into the tomb of the West, even though this parenthetical expression provides no essential information about the actions of the priest himself during the exit. It does provide essential information about the actions of the deacon and children. As the priest goes out into the tomb of the West, they follow him. They do not remain in the temple. He goes out, the deacon and children following into the tomb of the West. Music, voluntary. Note 91. The ceremony being over, the people should leave the temple promptly and silently while the music is still playing. They may then regroup for an informal reception. Note, the priestess and other officers never partake of the sacrament, they being, as it were, part of the priest himself. Note 92. In an obvious symbolic sense, the interaction of the priest and priestess symbolizes the interaction of a man and a woman. However, in another sense, the officers represent different aspects of every man and woman, with the priest representing the individual, mortal, physical aspect of the human being. The priest is the only officer who is symbolically born, lives, and dies during the course of the ritual. In this sense, the other officers can be seen to represent specific aspects of the human being that do not require physical nourishment, except as provided indirectly by the priest. Note, certain secret formulae of this Mass are taught to the priest in his ordination. 93. Some commentators have alleged that these certain secret formulae are none other than the secrets of the 9th degree, OTO. Obviously, this cannot be the case if the priest being ordained is not and initiates of the ninth degree of OTO. However, certain secret formulae of this Mass are set forth in certain of the essays herein. References. References. Bishop's Commission on the Liturgical Apostolate, Missal Romanum, Benzinger Brothers, New York, 1964. Crowley, Alistair, Ecclesia Gnosticae Catholicae Canon Mise, edited from the ancient documents in Assyrian and Greek by the Master Therion, in the International, Volume 12, Number 3, March 1918. Crowley, Alistair, Liber 15, OTO, Ecclesiae Gnosticae Catholicae Canon Mise, in the Equinox, Volume 3, Number 1, March 1919. Crowley, Alistair, Liber 15, OTO, Ecclesiae Gnosticae Catholicae Canon Mise, the Gnostic Mass, edited from the ancient documents in Assyrian and Greek by the Master Therion. Edited and harmonized by Mordecai Shapiro, in Ecclesiae Gnostica, Volume 1, Number 3, EGC, Emeryville, California, 1981, reprinted in the Equinox, Volume 3, Number 10, Ordo Templi Orientis, 93 Publishing, New York, 1986. Crowley, Alistair, Magic in Theory and Practice, 1929-30, in Magic, Book 4, Parts 1 through 4, Second Revised Edition, edited, annotated, and introduced by Hymenaeus Beta, Samael Weiser, York Beach, Maine, 1997. Crowley, Alistair, Not the Life and Adventures of Sir Roger Bluxom, serialized in the Magical Link, Ordo Templi Orientis, beginning fall 1990, Common Era, containing at this writing. Continuing. Crowley, Alistair, Not the Life and Adventures of Sir Roger Bluxom, serialized in the Magical Link, Ordo Templi Orientis, beginning fall 1990, Common Era, continuing at this writing. Crowley, Alistair, Liber CDX V111, or 418, The Vision and the Voice, the Vision. Crowley, Alistair, Liber 418, The Vision and the Voice, with commentary and the Equinox, Volume 4, Number 2, Samael Weiser, York Beach, Maine, 1998, WEISER. Crowley, Alistair, William Blake, in The Revival of Magic and Other Essays, Oriflamme 2, Ordo Templi Orientis, New Falcon, Publications, Tempe, Arizona, 1998. Donahue, Thomas A. S.J., The Rubrics of the Low Mass. The Rubrics of the Low Mass, Woodstock College Press, Woodstock, Maryland, 1939. Drower, E.S., Walter and Wine, A Study of Ritual Idiom in the Middle East, John Murray, London, 1956. Forlong, J.G.R., Rivers of Life, London, 1883. Graham Lloyd M., Deceptions and Myths of the Bible, Citadel Press, New York, 1975. Hislop, Reverend Alexander, The Two Babylons Are the Perpetual Worship, Luzeux Brothers, New Jersey, 1916, 1959. Inman Thomas, Ancient Pagan and Modern Christian Symbolism Exposed and Explained. Peter Buchler, New York, 1869, 1874. Jennings, Hargrave, Live Lights or Dead Lights, John Hodges, London, 1873. Quoted in Goodwin Jocelyn, The Theosophical Enlightenment, SUNY Press, Albany, 1994. Jennings, Hargrave, The Rosicrucians, Their Rites and Mysteries, J. G. Houghton, London, 1870, reprinted by Health Research, Mokelumne Hill, California, 1966. Yon, C.G., Transformation Symbolism in the Mass, in Psyche and Symbolism, V. L. de Laszlo, editor, Doubleday, New York, 1958. Ledbetter, C.W., Science of the Sacraments, 1920, Vasanta Press. Theosophical Society, Adyar, Madras, 1980. Morris, Desmond, Gestures, Their Origins and Distributions, Stein and Day, New York, 1979. O'Connell, Monsignor Lawrence, and Walter Schmitz, The Book of Ceremonies, The Bruce Publishing Company, Milwaukee, 1956. Sora Merrill, Additional Stage Directions and Commentary to Liber 15 in the Continuum, Volume 2, Number 4, College of Thelema. Oroville, California, 1979. Starr, Martin, P. The Unknown God, W. T. Smith and the Thelemites, Commentary to Liber 15, in Titan Press, Bolingbrook, Illinois, 1979. Thompson, Bard, Liturgies of the Western Church. The World Publishing Company, New York, 1961.